Welcome to the Mariners Virtual Baseball Bash and this morning's media session.
Good morning, and welcome to day 6 of the Mariners Virtual Baseball Bash, and to the 4th of 7 virtual news conferences. A special welcome to our fans watching across our social media channels, including Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Mariners.com. A reminder that fans on social media can ask questions via those channels. Simply comment your question in the chat of the live stream for a chance to have it answered. For media who have joined us, welcome as well. And a reminder that the call is live. For questions, please utilize the raise hand feature and we will call on you. Also, please make sure your name is correct on the call so we can identify you. We're going to begin today with left-handed pitcher Justice Sheffield. Justice, as you know, had a tremendous season last year. He's joined us, and we'll go directly to questions with him. So again, if you have questions, please raise your hand in the chat function. Thanks, Justice, for joining us. Questions for him? A question from Shannon Dreyer.
Hey, Justice, good to see you. I'm wondering, what did your off season look like in comparison to a year ago? Were you able to get everything in, and how did you get everything done that you needed to get done?
Yeah, it was still a little different, being as the COVID is still around, so there were still obstacles of getting around that, but I found a way to work out a plan of working out in Nashville, Chattanooga, and back here at home. So I've had 3 places to set up, and been able to get my work in. Been training with my brother, who's with the Rockies now. So that's been good to, work out with him and put some work in with him. And it's been a good offseason so far.
A question from Daniel Kramer.
Hey, Justice, have you had to adjust or tailor your offensive program a little bit differently given you kind of just touched on it too, but with the uncertainty of spring training coming up and kind of ramping up to get ready for that?
Yeah, well, there has been kind of, like I said, some things I've had to go through just from the COVID, gyms being shut down and stuff like that. But, when we hit the quarantine the first time, that kind of got me ready for this situation, having the second spring training, the summer camp 2.0. That kind of sets you up for things like that. We've already been in a weird spot going into last year. So this year I'm not really taking it any different, just being as prepared as possible whenever, that time is.
A question from Ryan Divish.
Justice, having a full off season to kind of play around with the 2-seam fastball even more, do you feel like it's a better pitch? And how was the work with the changeup that you wanted to work on this offseason?
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a good spot with those 2 pitches, especially with my changeup. I've been working hard on it, throwing it a lot, just trying to kill some speed off of it. And, I've thrown a couple bullpens. I'm actually throwing one today later on. And, my bullpens have been great. And, I'm excited to get to spring training and showcase it off. But as far as everything else, I feel like I'm in a great spot.
Another question from Daniel Kramer.
Justice, obviously a huge step forward last year, but as you look towards 2021, what are some tangible things and goals that you have to continue to take that next step forward this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just getting out there every 5th or 6th day, whatever rotation we're going to do. We'll find out about that here soon once we get started in spring training. But, I feel like just being consistent, getting out there, throwing deep in the games. Last year I was actually finding my groove of being able to pitch deeper in games and, able to have some success doing that. So I just want to continue to build off that. And, I'm always competitive, always out there trying to fight. So just keeping the game as close as possible. That's, my main thing, just going out there and competing and winning.
And a question from Corey Brock.
Justice, you have a guy on the staff in Marco Gonzalez who certainly, aside from being left-handed, it seems like you guys do a lot of things similar. You guys threw a ton of first pitch strikes last year. As you watch him, especially for a guy who's been in the league longer than you have, what are some of the things that you've picked up from him? Maybe it's more preparation than anything tangible, but what are some of the areas that you've noticed from watching him that you could apply to yourself?
Yeah. You said it right there. Definitely the work ethic he puts in off the field. Studying about his hitters and about the lineup he's about to face. He knows those guys. He knows what he needs to do to get through the lineup 3 times and pitch deep in the games. But watching him on the field also. Me and him were probably about the same height, same size, and not very big. And Marco really relies on location over his stuff. And that's something where watching him, I've kind of learned to, put into my game. I've always been stuff over location, and I've gotten away with that, early on in my career through the minors. But just watching him being able to, put the ball where he wants to put it and set hitters up and, watch him attack hitters, it's, helped me a lot as far as going after and attacking and setting guys up.
Tim Booth has a question.
Hey, Justice, you mentioned it a minute ago, but what are your thoughts about going with a 6-man rotation? Would you rather be traditional and have a normal 5-man rotation, or are you fine with the idea of maybe pitching a little bit less?
Honestly, whatever's asked, honestly, 5 or 6, it doesn't hurt me. I think the main thing is just getting that routine down. Either it's a 5 or a 6, you kind of got to know what days you got to do what. But I felt like last year during the 6-man rotation, it was give us an extra rest, especially on that bullpen day. We was able to get after it and really work on what we needed to for that next start. So I think there's a lot of benefits to that 6 day as far as, saving energy and being ready to go on game day.
Ryan Divish has a question.
Just as you just said, you'd always been stuff over location. You became a location over stuff. Was there a light bulb moment where it went off and said, hey, I have to think differently about this? And how excited are you to bring, like you said, the change up, the familiarity with the 2-seam, this new mindset into a full season? Like you've had a whole off season, you had a season before. How excited are you about that?
Yeah. Well, I just feel like what told me was not getting it done in the big leagues. And, I've always been told my stuff was, good enough to get guys out. But, there was one final key. And obviously that was the location and being able to set hitters up and learning the game a little bit more as a pitcher. But, yeah, as far as the season is going in 21, I'm super excited. Ready to bring out the stuff I've been working on. Like I said, I'm super excited and it's been looking good. So I'm ready to see some hitters up there and see what results I'll get from them.
Was it weird not like figuring it out, saying, oh man, I should have been this way all the time? Was that frustrating that you didn't think about it earlier? Or, what was your reaction to all that when your stuff just didn't get outs right away like you thought it would?
Yeah, definitely frustrating. But I knew that the answer was, location. I knew that was the answer, but I think just the maturity level, really understanding the game of pitching and learning how to pitch. And, it's really, you have to learn it, setting guys up. You can't just go out there and, just think you're going to blow by heaters and then get a guys out with sliders in the dirt every time, and that's what I thought coming up. But, I think just getting out there and getting those reps in the big league games and growing and evolving and learning that location is, Q. That is key.
A question from Shannon Dreyer.
This is somewhat related here, and I know this is probably somewhat of a strange question as well, but the coaching staff got on the pitching staff and really emphasized throwing strikes, just throw strikes. And there are all kinds of different strikes, a different quality of strikes. But what did you learn about throwing strikes last year?
That majority of the time the hitter's going to get out. That was literally it. The more I put the ball over the plate, the results would be more positive than negative. And that was it. back when I was walking guys, putting guys on free passes. Game can change quick. Walk a guy and then double in the gap. There's one run right there, or home run. There's two more runs. So just those free passes, limited those free bases, and hitters, you see them all the time. And BP, they're not hitting balls over every swing. They're rolling over balls that are BP fastballs down the middle. So if that doesn't tell you nothing, that you can't go out there and just throw strikes over the middle of the plate, or conviction strikes, then it's just one of those things where I had to learn, honestly, go through it and learn as the game went on and as I got older.
A question from Jose Moreno.
Hey, Chef, what are some of the things that you're doing to prepare for the season mentally? And what are some of the things that you take from last season and the truncated season in order to improve about having a full season under your belt this year?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot different. 60 game versus 160. That's gonna be a huge difference. And mentally, I'm preparing myself for that. Trying not to hit on the gas pedal too hard with my training or things like that. Trying to stretch it out as long as possible. And, really been hitting the cardio. I feel like that's going to be very important down the stretch, especially when it gets to, September and hopefully October. I want to be as strong as possible in those months. So I've been hitting the off season really hard with my training and, just kind of mentally preparing myself, knowing that it's going to be a long one. And, I'm prepared and ready to go for it.
I think we have a question from our social channels.
Yeah, hey, Chef, we have a question from Joel on YouTube who would like to know if you have an innings goal for 2021 following last year's shortened season.
I wouldn't say so much innings goal as a whole. Every time I'm out there, I definitely want to go 6 innings. Like that is an ultimate goal of mine. Early on, I know we might be a little, they might have the ropes on us with the pitch count early on, but once we're fully go, I want to be out there for at least 6 innings, and I feel like that'd be a good goal to accomplish this year.
A question from Daniel Kramer.
Hey, Jeff, kind of building off of that, and you talk about the strike throwing ability, do you feel like now that you've kind of harnessed this a little bit more and you've been more economical with your pitches, that it will allow you to pitch deeper into games and accomplish that goal that you just mentioned of 6 innings? I'm looking here, you didn't throw 100 pitches in a single start, but you went 6 innings in 6 times last year. So just being more economical with your pitches and the benefits of that.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to, strike throwing and, little mechanical adjustments, little cues that I can keep my head if I'm off or opening up a little bit too quick. It gets me back on track to be able to throw those strikes and, get those quick outs, get those hitters out of the box within 3 to 4 pitches. Yeah.
And we'll take a final question from Justice from Chris Talbot.
Justice, I wonder if in your experience, the Mariners do anything differently to develop you. They talk a lot about Kaizen and about continuous improvement. Is there any way that you can define that within the way that they approach your development?
Yeah, I feel like you have to buy into that. First off, I feel like that was the main thing for me, was actually buying in, trusting the organization, trusting the staff. And I feel like as soon as I did that, the communication was easier. What they were trying to get across and what they wanted a Seattle Mariner player to look like and act like and be like. They have all these quotes, be you, but align with us. And, I've loved that. I feel like that's so cool just because you can come in and be yourself, but, we all got the same goal. We know what we want to do. So I feel like just buying into that and, trusting what they're trying to teach us and what we're trying to do and accomplish. I feel like it's going to go a long way with our team and as an organization as a whole.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justice, for your time this morning. We do appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing you in spring training in just a couple of weeks. We will be back in just a minute after this short video with Scott Servais as we set the room. Thank you. Be right back.
to J.P. Crawford, throws, and that's a double play. Wow!
What a play by Kyle Seager. Justice Sheffield strikes out the side.
Wow.
God, home run, Kyle Lewis.
Marco Gonzalez, Bulldog tough, you bet.
Thank you, and welcome back, everyone. We're joined now by Mariners manager Scott Servais. Scott will have a short opening statement, and then we'll take questions. Scott?
Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody again. Hi, Larry. How we doing? No, good. Certainly take your questions in a minute. Seems like as we're getting closer to spring training, looking forward to media day. It's a little different not having everybody in the room, but we'll take the questions. Obviously, a lot to talk about with our team, getting through what we did last year in a shortened season, 60 games, but really learning a lot about our young guys and where they're at, and really excited about this group moving forward. I said it earlier this week in talking to some different groups on Zoom calls about this is really the first time coming to spring training as a group that really nice to have the core of our group the same. You know, we've had a lot of turnover here as we've looked to get better in different areas. But this group is a group that we're really excited about. It's a group we can grow with, staying in touch with these guys throughout the offseason, knowing how excited they are to get to spring training and getting the ball rolling, understanding what's ahead of us. You know, hopefully we play a 162-game season, and we continue to find out a lot about this group. But a lot to be optimistic about. I'm really excited about what lies ahead for us, and as we continue to learn about our young players and they continue to grow. So with that, I know everybody's got questions, so we'll go from there.
A question from Ryan Divish.
Scott, I would ask you about Montana, but
Awesome, Ryan. It was great.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I'm curious about what the roster situation is right now. I think the limit is probably 60 guys going into spring training, but where are you at? Do you think Jerry's going to add guys that would come in and potentially compete for your big league roster in the next couple of weeks, or are you kind of looking at this as the group we have and maybe there'd be a late addition here or there?
It is an ongoing process, and I think everybody's seen how the hot stove or the offseason has played out with free agent players and just the lack of movement there has been around the league. So, you know, as things are starting to pick up here, I think we've seen it in the last 6-7 days. A few more guys are signing. There's still a lot of really good players out there, veteran guys that can help stabilize a young group like we have and come in and be big contributors. So there's no stone unturned when it comes to Jerry and looking at ways to, upgrade our ball club. And I say all that knowing that we still want to give our young players every opportunity to grow. And that is a focus for us. We've got a lot of good young players, and we've got more coming. But there's always ways to incrementally improve your club. We've added to our bullpen. We've added a starter. And I don't think we're done. I think we'll continue to work at it, up until we get to spring training, and even in spring training if some of these guys haven't signed yet.
A question from Daniel Kramer.
Hey, Scott, good to see you. Over the past 2 years, you really preached, this is a season and a team of opportunity. And you kind of touched on it in your opening statement, but do you feel like you guys have kind of moved down the tracks a little bit and you're now further along with, players who are familiar faces and moving past the opportunity phase and into, evaluation and development phase?
No question. We are farther down the path. When we made a decision at the end of 2018 to go younger and turn over our roster, we understood it was going to take some time. Unfortunately, we only had 60 games to play with last year. It is what it is. I mean, we dealt with it. Our guys learned from it. I am looking forward to seeing this group take the next step now that they've got some experience under their belt. It takes a while to get comfortable at the big league level. I do think sometimes it's easier when you have a group that's very close-knit and really lined up where they're at in their careers, just age-wise. we have a lot of guys in that same area, so they're growing together, they're learning from each other, and they're pulling from each other. So we are, I think, ready to take a next step. Where that step leads us and how far it goes, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm very optimistic about this group if we continue to get better. And that's really the goal here. Every day we come to the ballpark, we got to get better. Even if just incrementally, even just 1% in different areas, where it's our bullpen, our starting pitching, our base running. We saw what we did last year when we really focused on our defense and our base running. I thought we were outstanding. We still got ways to go as far as dominating the strike zone, offensively and on the mound. So there's room for improvement. There's room for growth. Our guys are aware of that. And like I said, I'm really optimistic we'll continue to move in the right direction there.
A question from Corey Brock.
Happy New Year.
Same to you, Corey.
We talked to Kyle Seager last week and talked a little bit about his time in Seattle as we're kind of, with his contract going to expire at the end of the year. You've had 5 years with him. As we look at his body of work, it seems to me that maybe he's been a little underrated, maybe throughout the industry, probably not to you guys. But as you look at what he's done, what's really stood out for you?
Certainly not underrated or looked over in our clubhouse and on our team. It's been invaluable, the stability that he's given us. And, he had a little injury a couple years ago, missed some time to start the season. I think it was back in 19. But other than that, been unbelievably durable. He's a guy, you can put in the lineup every day. You get a great effort. I thought he really took a step forward last year in helping in our clubhouse, getting to the point where he understands where he's at in his career. And I'm very appreciative of the fact that he's willing to give back. He wants to pass along some of the lessons that he's learned through the years and understands the value of veteran players helping young guys. So I thought he was a huge help in our clubhouse last year and what we're trying to get across to our players. And players are always going to be more comfortable talking to other players than they are instead of walking in the manager's office or talking to other staff members. And Kyle's been a big asset for us there. I thought last year he had an outstanding season rolling. I know he hit a little bump in the road there towards the end, but he had a heck of a year. He really did. Strike zone, awareness continues to get better. He plays well at third base. He's just a guy that I appreciate writing his name in the lineup every day.
A question from Shannon Dreyer.
And I'm back. Hey, I've got a two-parter for you, and it has nothing to do with the lineup. The bullpen. What do you have in terms of arms and what you have available to you and what you can go to in different times? And also, I'm not sure if there's been clarification on this as of yet, but if they go back to the 2020 rules as intended and the 26-man roster, there was to be a 13-man pitching staff, which would mean a much smaller bullpen than I think you've been accustomed to. What challenges come with that, and how do you have to manage that?
Well, first talk about, the guys that we have in our bullpen. And, going into last year, we knew the bullpen was an area very inexperienced. Wasn't quite sure what we were going to get out of different guys. And a lot of guys did get that experience. They matured. We found out about a few guys. The additions that we've had this offseason, certainly picking up Montero from the Rangers is huge for us. This guy's got a really good arm. He's got a very good demeanor on the mound. He's pitched late in games, and excited about that addition. We did add Keenan Middleton. That's a guy I've had history with. I was with the Angels when we drafted him, and he's from the Pacific Northwest, so he's excited to get back on track. He was coming off a Tommy John surgery a couple years ago, but before that happened, he was a guy who was pitching high leverage innings for the Angels, 7th, 8th inning for them. So excited that addition. I thought a couple guys that took steps forward for us last year in our bullpen. We gave an opportunity to Anthony Misevich, and I thought Miz had a great year. Left-hander, he's got really good stuff, very aggressive, and he's got a really short memory, which works out really well for bullpen guys. If he has a rough one, just give me the ball tomorrow. I'm ready to go. That's his attitude. So I thought Joey Gerber did some positive things last year for us. First exposure to the big league level, and he's learning. He's handling it well. So, our bullpen, can we continue to get better, continue to add? You're always looking for more guys. I don't think anybody ever is satisfied and thinks they got enough pitching. And certainly going into 2021, coming off a shortened season, understanding the value of depth this year is going to be huge for all teams. And not just the guys that you break camp with, but what do you have in reserve? If there is injury or guys aren't performing very well, you can go get guys. So that's an area that I think we'll continue to add to as we move closer to spring training. But, our bullpen, again, is starting to take form. The one guy that we don't talk much about is Andres Munoz, the guy who was in the trade with Austin Nola. We got back from San Diego. It's an electric arm. This guy's one of the hardest throwers in the big leagues. He's very young. He really lines up with our group. He's looked great. I've seen some video of him coming back from TJ, and we want to be careful with that. He's probably not going to be full go, maybe till we get into June, but he's really going to be a shot in the arm for us. And he's been in the big leagues. He's had success at the big league level. So we're certainly adding to our group down there, and I think, like I said, we'll continue to add. So feel much more positive, optimistic about that group. I think looking at the rule change that they talked about doing before the 2020 season was, the 13 and 13 position players, 13 pitchers. I'm on a call here later this week with all the major league managers. I'm sure they'll go through some of those rule changes. Are they going to stay in play? Will they back off? Early indications are that they will back off that. So it'll be up to individual teams to put your roster together any way you would want to. And that's the way it should be, in my opinion. I think it's ridiculous that people would say you can only have this many players or this many pitchers. It really should be up to the teams because, as you know, as you go through the course of the season, there'll be days where your bullpen is really banged up or you don't have a lot of guys available, and you need to go get a guy and bring him up just to make sure you got coverage in that game if something did happen. And we certainly don't want to get anybody hurt. So I think they will leave it up to the teams to put their rosters together the way they want to.
A question from Tim Booth.
Hey, Scott. Hope you're well.
Tim.
Jerry mentioned last week, again, the idea of the six-man rotation going forward. Is that your plan as you're going into the spring and into the season? And do you feel like all of your starters are on board with that idea, or do you think there's conversations that need to be had?
Why would you ask
that question, Tim? Yeah, we are going with a six-man rotation. And certainly, staying in tune to all of our players and where they're at. And I know Marco, has some reservations about it or whatnot. And I totally understand where Marco's coming from. Marco's one of our best competitors that we have. He wants to be out there every day. And he did in college. And the days he didn't pitch, he played first base. So that's just how he's wired. And I don't have a problem with that at all. But what we're trying to do here is make a decision that's best for the group, best for our organization going forward with what we have today. And I don't think we'll be the only team that goes to a six-man rotation. I've talked to people in other organizations. They are considering doing it too, and they probably do it at some point throughout the year to protect their guys. Got to remember, we came off 60 games. Marco, I think our guys threw 60 to 70 innings, and now you're trying to bump them up to hopefully in the 180 range. That's a big jump. So the value of that six-man rotation, giving the guys the extra day to work on the side and the bullpen, if they are sore or soggy, whatever, they've got time to kind of regroup before that next start. And the numbers don't lie. Guys perform better. Their stuff is crisper. It's sharper. I think it's absolutely the right way to go for us based on how we're built right now. So that's the plan going forward. Will that change down the road? It may. But with what we head into spring training with, I'm excited about it. I think it's the right way to go. I know it's the right way to go. We saw it play out for us and work very effectively for us last year.
Question from Larry Stone.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, Larry.
Hey. I got another Kyle Seager question. He mentioned the other day when he was on the call last week that he kind of can relate to how Felix felt going into the last year of his contract. How do you think he's going to handle that, and what could be a potentially kind of awkward situation? Is there anything you say to him at this point?
No, I've certainly having the opportunity to manage Kyle the last 5 years. I have a pretty good idea how he's wired. I know more than anything right now where Kyle's at in his career, he wants to win, and he wants to do whatever he can to help us win. And obviously, it's about performing on the field, but giving back in the clubhouse, helping some younger guys along. And I certainly expect he'll continue to do that because ultimately we want to win. We want to improve upon what we've done last year and get into the playoffs. That's what it's about. So for me, there would be no better way to go into the season and really finish out the year here is let's go win. What can we do to help our group speed up the curve a little bit and get to ultimately where we want to get to. Now, it'll take contributions from everybody, but Kyle is going to play third. He's going to hit in the middle of our lineup. He'll have a big voice in our clubhouse. So I'm not looking for him to really go about anything any differently than he ever has. He shows up every day and gives you great effort. So that's not going to change. I don't expect it to. He's just not wired that way. So anytime players get to the end of the contract or whatever, you guys enjoy talking about it a heck of a lot more than they do. They just want to go to work every day and play and do what they do. So I don't really expect anything different out of Kyle. He is a pro, and we certainly appreciate that.
I think we have a question from our social channels.
Hey, Scott, this is Ian. We have a question from Adam on Twitter. We just wanted to get an update on Tom Murphy and how you're feeling about his preparedness and how he's attacked this offseason.
Murph is 100% full go. He's if anybody knows much about Murph or his personality, he lives upstate New York. He's a big-time hunter. He likes to very much an outdoors guy, and he's doing everything like he's normally done in a typical off season. His workouts have been great. Jared DeHart, one of our hitting coaches, was up to see him a few weeks ago. He looks awesome. He, like I said, 100% full go. And Murph, being one of the more intense guys we have, he's a guy I kind of have to keep an eye on in the spring. He's going to want to come in and just go 100 miles an hour right from the get-go. And we really need to be careful. It's a build-up. It's a ramp-up in spring training. So you won't see Murph go out there and catch back-to-back days. And, we will be very cautious in how we ramp him up. But I'm really excited about our catching tandem. What Luis Torrens brought to us after the trade, not really knowing what we were going to get. I thought he adapted very well to our pitching staff, the information and what we expect out of our catchers, and really like what he brings offensively. He controls the strike zone. He uses the whole field to hit, and I think he's just kind of growing into some more power. So we know what Murph can do offensively. Had a great year a couple years ago, but the combination of both Murph and Luis, I think, we're in a great spot catching-wise, and our pitchers really respond to these two guys, which is it's so important as we're growing a young pitching staff as well.
A question from Tim Booth.
Scott, do you go in with Mitch slotted in as your right fielder, or do you need to see sort of how sort of like with Tom, do you have to ramp him up a little bit and see where he's at having such a long layoff?
Yeah, we're going to take it slow with Hanny. I'm super excited. Just the early reports and what our guys have been seeing out of him and his workouts. Hanny's our right fielder. I don't think there's anything else to say about that. He's a heck of a player. He's a really good leader in our clubhouse. And things have changed a lot, for him. Our team looks different than the last time, he was a part of it every day. Off the field, he's had a lot of things going on there in a positive way. So he's super excited to get back and contribute and kind of pick right up where he left off. Understanding he has been out a little while. So we will be, careful in how we ramp him up. And it's no more than just communicating with the player, understanding when he comes in the first day of camp, sitting down with them and kind of mapping out, here's how I see this thing playing out. And he lets us know, you need a few more at-bats here, or, you need a few days off here to kind of regroup. You work hand in hand with the training staff and strength and conditioning group along with the player, and you come up with a really good plan. But he's our right fielder. Can't wait to get him back in our lineup and watch him play every day. He's an exciting player.
A question from Ryan Divish.
Scott, are you still expecting everything to be on time? You're on your report dates in mid-February. And then also, if you only have a 12-man position group, does that change you went with a lot of utility guys last year that could play outfield. Do you do that and shy away from maybe a true fourth outfielder?
First, right now, we're all systems go on a normal start date for spring training. Again, things change daily based on things that show up on the internet and different letters and all this other stuff. But later this week, there is a call with the major league managers, with the commissioner's office. I'm sure we'll find out more at that time. But right now, it's all systems go. And, we're lining up physicals and first day of pitchers and catchers like we normally would. As far as the makeup of our roster and how that plays out, we do have a lot of players or a nice pocket of players that can play multiple positions, and I love it. It really loosens things up and makes it a little bit easier for me. When you've got an injury or a guy that's struggling a little bit, that you've got so many interchangeable parts, and I don't want to get away from that. How does it ultimately affect how we break if it's 12 or 13 position players? There are some competitions going into camp, which is great. There should be competition. That's what it's about. I think you get the most out of players when they know they're competing for something and they're not given something. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But we do got guys that can bounce around the field a little bit, guys that do have a little bit of major league experience now after being in the season last year. So that always helps, with young players, especially when they're that guy that doesn't play every day, that he's coming in, he's filling in a couple times a week. If you come up with a routine and something that allows you to be at the top of your game and be real competitive on the days you get the chance to play, all of a sudden you might grow into maybe what Dylan Moore has done. Dylan has come up with a great routine. He figured out how to deal with it, and then when he got an opportunity, he took it and ran with it. And he had an awesome season last year, and looking for more out of him this year.
A question from Curtis Crabtree.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Curtis.
As you go into camp here, what are some of the biggest questions you have that you want to answer in spring training before you get up to the season? What are the things you need to see and figure out as you ramp up to opening day?
I think you're always curious to see how players look after an offseason. We saw what Kyle Lewis looked like, the difference from when we stopped spring training 1.0 to when we started summer camp. He looked like a different player. The improvements that players make really happen. The big improvements really happen in the offseason. Whether they change, their routines, what their body looks like, how they're moving, what their swings look like, maybe how the ball's coming out of their hand on the mound. So you're always curious to see what players are ready to take that next step forward. Every time we've come to camp here since I've been the manager, there have been some surprises. There's some guys that you didn't really expect that all of a sudden, whoa, where'd this guy come from? He looks like a different dude. I'm looking for a few more of those. I think that would be great. I know our guys have been diligent in their workouts. Our coaching staff and putting plans together for these guys into the offseason and staying in communication with them as they continue to grow and get better is going to be huge for us. So as far as competitions, obviously, we've talked about, second base and Dylan and Shed and, Haggerty, some different guys there getting opportunities. We've got young prospects that may not break with us. I think everybody knows who those guys are, and certainly excited about their future. But will they be ready? Are they ready to contribute right now, or do they need a little bit more minor league experience? So a lot of those decisions will weigh into what our roster looks like when we break as well.
Question from Daniel Kramer.
Scott, we obviously saw a huge step forward with JP in the glove last year. Have you seen signs that his bat can also catch up to where he is defensively?
No question. The one thing about J.P. Crawford, and I've said this before, is he may be one of our most competitive guys that we have. And when I say that, it's really in a good way. We saw the strides he made defensively. That was just from a commitment to buy into a program. Certainly Perry Hill had a lot to do with that. But I'm going to buy in, and I'm going to practice a certain way every day and trust the process. And lo and behold, it played out. He's one of the best defenders in our league right now. On the offensive side, there's always room for growth. He has been working diligently, with Jared DeHart and Tim Laker this offseason, whether it's through videos back and forth or those guys spending some time with him to make a few adjustments offensively. He feels great right now. He's also continued to get stronger. I think that's one thing that gets overlooked a little bit in JP's development from where he is physically now, from where he was maybe 18, 24 months ago, or when we acquired him. He's gotten stronger. It allows him to play out consistently every day, and it'll only help his bat as he continues to mature there as well. So there are plenty of things to work on. All of our guys got to get better. And that's from Marco Gonzalez, who's probably our opening day starter, to, the guy who might be the last guy on our roster. The focus is on getting better, and our coach is continuing to challenge our guys to get better. But JP's in a good spot. I'm excited to see what he looks like as the reports, the guys that have been around him at our complex down in Arizona, speaking very highly about how he's gone about his offseason. He wants to take the next step. Big part of that is he wants to be a huge contributor in getting us to the playoffs.
A question from Shannon Dreyer.
Scott, having gone through a 60-game season in a summer camp with the protocols and, just everything was new when you were doing it last year. Now that you've had that, how have you been able to prepare for possibly a full season of that, or how do you approach that with your players going forward?
I think by probably after the first 15, 20 games, everybody started to get in a routine with the protocols. Understanding it was different. You couldn't spend as much time at the ballpark. You can, the time at the hotel when you're traveling, or even, you just weren't able to do as many things as you normally do. But over time, you adjust your routine. And I thought our guys, after the first 15, 20 games, started to get in a routine there. What's it going to look like this next year? I hope it's better. I hope we've got more freedoms and we're able to do some more things, spend some more time, getting back to maybe what we did in the past. But the one thing I will say about the changes that were made in our schedule, we learned a lot. Maybe you don't have to spend 7 or 8 hours at the ballpark before the game starts and still be okay at the end of the day and still be productive. And maybe you become a better version of yourself. I certainly learned that. I think our players did too. So you don't get so locked into being a slave to your routine. You adjust your routine. But I don't know what to expect. I'm certainly hoping as more people around our country get vaccinated, and hopefully it works its way into our clubhouse when we get to that point, that will help some things along. But again, the pandemic and everything around it, it's number one importance is the health and safety of everybody around our country, but on our team as well. We got to do the right thing, continue to take care of each other, and continue to hold each other accountable when you see some other guys that might be veering off the path a little bit. That'll be the biggest challenge in spring training as different communities start to open up and our players want to go out to dinner or do these different things. You've got to be really smart. You've got to continue to make good decisions. I was really proud of our team throughout the season. I thought we'd made a lot of good calls. We knew we needed to keep it tight if we were going to get through a season, and luckily enough, we were.
I think we have a question off our social channels.
Hey, Scott, we have a question here from Chris from Twitch. Last week, Jerry mentioned that we could see the second wave of prospects start to arrive this year. We would like to know how important it's going to be will leadership be from the young core of guys who've already found success at the major league level?
Yeah, I think, I guess we've termed this as waves of players coming, and I do expect another wave of prospects to make it onto our roster at some point this season, when they're ready. And that's exciting because I know the talent that these young guys have, but also understand it sometimes takes them a little time to get adjusted to the speed of the game and what's going on at the big leagues and whatnot. What allows those young players when they come up to make that adjustment even quicker is the group that's already here. And the group that, we're talking about, they're young in their own right, but they understood what they just went through and the value of making those new players feel like they are a part of the team, that they're a part of our future, and get them to relax and not trying to hit a home run or strike everybody out the first time or second time they walk out there. I think you've seen the development of Justice Sheffield was one of those guys. And, you have to give some credit to the players that are around these young guys every day. Marco Gonzalez, Kendall Graveman, when Taijuan Walker was here, helping those young guys out a little bit and keeping them calm and getting them to understand what it means to be a big league player and just be productive every day and whatever you can do to help the team. So feel good about the young core that we have. They've learned a lot, and many of those guys do have the ability to lead. They've led different teams that they've been a part of as they've come through our minor league system, and as they get comfortable in the big leagues, they will have a bigger voice. You've already started to see it happening towards the end of the year last year as Kyle Lewis started to get comfortable in expressing his viewpoint and letting his personality come out a little bit more in our clubhouse. And, we have the addition, with Hanny and Murph. Both those guys are big-time leaders with Siegs and what Marco brings. We've got plenty of guys that can help these young guys, rookies, as they get, their toe wet, so to speak, in the big league level for the first time. And it's really important. It is. We've got to make these young guys feel like they're a part of it as quick as we can and get them comfortable, because that's when their ability comes out the quickest.
A question from Ryan Divish.
Scott, would you have kicked a field goal on 4th down and goal? And also, what have you heard about the AAA season? Because that's your essential pipeline. I know AA and A have been set back a little bit, but what have you heard about the AAA season and how those guys will stay active so you can use them? And I'm really curious about the field goal thing too.
Great question, Ryan. There's a lot of talk about the fourth down situation, certainly in Wisconsin these days, but that's the NFL. It's funny, you try to put yourself in that position, whether it's the head coach or the manager, and you try to take all the information in, and you have to make a call. Not necessarily know if it's the call I would have made, but I would have never been in that spot. But we'll never know, I guess, and how that could have played out. As far as the what it looks like, going forward with their team. The other part of your question, Ryan, again, you got me off the mark here with the Packers thing.
Well, I know. I'm sure you're probably thinking about where Aaron Rodgers will end up as well. I'm asking about the AAA.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the AAA season, where we're at, really important that we can get those guys playing against outside competition. Last year, they went with the taxi squad situation, alternate site, whatever you want to call it, and trying to keep guys sharp, just playing the inter-squad games, and that's hard. That's hard for development. So getting that group of players up where they're playing against other clubs is going to be really important for their development. I'm guessing, like on most AAA teams, it's a mix of very young players that are moving on their way up, and then there's some veteran guys that may have, they've been in the big leagues, they have a little experience, and we'll have a combination of that again, but probably lean more on the younger guys and making sure that they're getting in their at-bats and their development. I think AAA is a really important level. And everybody talks about, the prospects are in AA, but the AAA level, there's a mixture of guys who've been in the big leagues, and certainly from an offensive standpoint, you get pitched a little bit different in AAA. You get more of the 2-0 changeup, 3-1 breaking ball, whereas in AA, oftentimes here it is, the guys throw a little bit harder or they just let it rip. So the closer you get to the big leagues, the game is played more like it is at the big league level, and I think it's really important for position players especially, to stop at AAA. And you see how they make the adjustments over time because they get pitched quite a bit differently. Pitching, maybe a little bit different. They control the game. The ball's in their hand. So when you're evaluating pitching, we've done this often is we'll take a guy right from AA and bring him right here into Seattle because they do control it. The ball starts and the game starts in their hand, and they have a little bit more say on how that's going to play out. So the value of a AAA season is huge. I know a lot of people have talked about the realignment of the minor leagues and what's that going to do to player development. Players will still develop. Yeah, they will. There may not be quite as many of them or as many teams to follow, but they'll still move along. They'll still get to the big leagues at the same ages like they always have. That really hasn't changed over time. And we'll continue to push a very, very loaded system along the way. Our minor league system is in great position right now. That's a credit to our scouts, Jerry, Justin in the front office and what they've done in acquiring talent. And that's everywhere. That's just not in the amateur draft. That's internationally. It takes everybody doing their part. And our organization right now may be as healthy as it's been since I've been here. And the number of young players, exciting young players that we have, and the flexibility we have down the road to add players to our roster. So it's a really good time to be a part of what we're trying to build right now. Yeah, absolutely. The guys who don't make our initial, if it's 26-man roster, they need to keep them going, need to be playing somewhere. So, whether it's in Tacoma, hopefully it is, or it's at a different site, I'm not sure that, how that's all going to play out. But you got to keep those guys going. You're going to need help. Like I said, whether it's injury or lack of performance, guys to step in and really boost your big league club, right after we get going, with the big league season.
Question from Corey Brock.
Scott, we all saw Kyle Lewis's that debut he had late in 19 and how he rolled that into a very successful rookie season last year, offensively and defensively. He still only played in less than 80 games at the big league level, and it's probably probably impossible to say definitively what this guy is going to end up being. Where's his next level of growth, or what's the next step for him at this point?
Well, I think Kyle will be the first to explain the consistency. He wants to be good every day. And if you're good and you're good again the next day and you're good the day after that and you're good the next week, you end up being a great player. It's the consistency that really separates it. And With Kyle, we've seen the highs, and it's exciting how the ball jumps off his bat and how he played in center field. There's, the ceiling is so high. But along the way, like this game, it'll humble you at times, and there'll be stretches where, he strikes out or he misses his pitch, or, there's still plenty of room for growth there. But I think the biggest thing for him is just the consistency. I will say that in most cases, players kind of tell you who they are pretty quickly at the major league level. And, people will say, you need 1,500 at bats, or you need a couple thousand until you can settle in. It really doesn't happen that way. Over the course of time, they kind of tell you who they are. And I like what Kyle Lewis is telling us who he is. Certainly coming off a Rookie of the Year season, he has a chance to really be a catalyst for us going forward for a number of years here. But hitting in the middle of our lineup, using the whole field to hit, I think his base running can still get better. I think his ability to handle balls in different parts of the strike zone will continue to improve as he matures. Again, I look back on what he did in center field for us. Probably one of the biggest surprises of the year, quite frankly, is how he handled things in center field, which is great for him. It's a credit to him. He just wants to get better out there. Throwing from center field, I know that's an area he wants to improve upon. So there's plenty of room for growth in his game. He's driven. There's no question about that, and it rubs off on other players as well.
Question from Daniel Kramer.
Hey, Scott, obviously the goal is to win that night's game. Everybody wants to win. But when you look big picture, and Jerry said last week that competing for a postseason spot would be a really rewarding achievement for this year. But when you have uber competitive guys that have been around a while, Marco, JP, like you said, how do you kind of balance a clubhouse comprised of those guys ready to compete for a division title right now while also preaching patience, given that there are others still learning how to play at this level and continuing to grow?
I think that the patience needs to come on my end and our coaching staff's end, understanding we do have young players. But I expect to win every night. And every decision that we make around our ball club is geared towards winning, bottom line. And along the way, I think when young players come into the big leagues, and they're excited to be there, there's no question about it, and we'll have a few more join us this year like we've talked about, but what can you do to help us win that night's ball game? Okay, it may be coming off the bench late in the game. It may be getting a big out in the 6th or 7th inning out of our bullpen. It may be, having a quality at bat in the 8th inning. The expectations are to win, bottom line. And I played in this league a long time. There wasn't one time I ever came to spring training and said, we'll be okay. We're just going to get experience this year. Nuh-uh. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to win. Along the way, we're going to develop. We're going to learn. We're going to lean on each other. But that's what it's ultimately about. And I'm super excited because we have the talent to do it. They need to grow. They need to get better. And that's on myself and the coaching staff to continue to draw that out of these guys. But the goal is to win the ball game every day.
Question from Lauren Smith.
Hey, Scott, kind of similar to what Corey asked about Kyle Lewis. Now that Evan's been, in the bigs for a year, what do you kind of see as the next steps for him going into year two?
I think Evan's at just from, probably listening to other people that have really spent some time with him this offseason, he's had a chance to sit back and reflect what happened, and how fast did it go? Because it got going really fast for Evan. And I think he's learning, and we're trying to help him along, give him the tools to be able to slow it down a little bit. And we get back to being consistent. We love Evan's talent. We love his makeup, his work ethic. He checks all the boxes there. He's just got to slow it down a little bit. And I think he's going to be in a much better situation this year because inevitably it'll speed up again, where you're struggling or you're trying to get a hit every time up there instead of just having a good at-bat and staying with your process. So he learned a lot. Some guys figure it out really quick. Other guys takes a little bit longer. But Evan did a lot of good things for us this year. We certainly saw the power, how the ball jumps off his bat. When he's going right and he's able to slow it down and work through an at-bat, his swing decisions are very good. There's just times it's sped up on him a little bit. Very normal. Very normal. But I don't know if he can do a whole lot better defensively, quite frankly. It was awesome to watch. It really picked up our infield and just the confidence level that we have knowing that he's over there. Just throw it close where he can get leather on it, and it usually ends up for a good thing for us when he does that. But, again, young player, getting better, learning about himself and learning about his game.
I think we have one more question off our social channel.
Yeah, Scott, Jose from YouTube just wants to know how the team is going to benefit whenever fans are welcomed back into the stadiums.
I can't wait. I can't wait till fans are back in, and just the electricity, the buzz. I think that's the biggest thing that I noticed this year. You know, you go through a pregame routine, you're taking batting practice, and you're getting ready for the game. And, you know, typically when we get at home here, when BP is about done, fans are starting to trickle into the stadium. So you start to feel a little like all the buzz or electricity start to build. But when you come out to start the game, that was the biggest thing last year. When you come out to start the game, it's dead quiet. And it's just the cardboard cutouts. And, you know, you have that building, the anxiety and the anticipation of a game and what's going to happen and how's the starter going to be and how's our matchups and all the other things that are going through my mind. And then you walk out to the dugout right before the game and there's nobody there. Really weird. I thought our guys did a really good job adjusting to that. But I'm looking forward to, there is that buzz, there's that excitement, fans in the stands. And, you know, when you get a rally going or you want to put the pressure on the other team, it gets a little bit louder. And our players are feeding off that, and certainly young players. And I think our fans are going to love this team when they get a chance to see it in person. The energy they bring, the excitement they bring, the personality they bring, because there's a lot to like with this group, and they're not afraid to share it and to show it. And you only see bits and pieces of that on TV. But being in the ballpark, you really feel it. So I can't wait to get our fans out there, getting to the point where they can connect with our players and understand we got some really interesting dudes. The personalities, the stories, the background they have, and the drive and will they have to be really good. And more importantly, just be consistent and ultimately help us get us back into the playoffs.
Question from Tim Booth.
Scott, did you guys have any players let me try this again. Have any players that picked up injuries or anything that during the offseason limit them from being ready for the start of spring training? And then with that, last year you had Perry and Tim Laker working remotely. Do you expect to have them back with the team when you guys get to Arizona?
Yeah, the first one on the players, nothing that I'm aware of as far as, you know, guys, something happening in the offseason or, you know, being shut down. You know, oftentimes when you get into camp and there's things that pop up in the opening physicals or whatnot. And as guys start to pick up their baseball activity here over the next 2 or 3 weeks, there may be some things that come up, but haven't heard anything to this point. As far as Lake and Perry being with us, those guys are dying to get back in uniform. It's been really hard for them. I think, you know, you've seen Perry on a number of Zoom calls and doing his thing. And he would be in Arizona right now working with our guys every day if you'd let him. He can't wait to get back. And, you know, we've got some things to throw at him, too. We've got some players that he really hasn't laid hands on yet. You know, Ty France is a guy that he's looking to spend some time with and see what that looks like. And, you know, getting Tim Laker back with Jared DeHart is going to be huge, you know, for our program. I know Lake's really excited about it. And staying in contact with our players, talking to them, looking at videos, working them through some different drills and adjustments they're trying to make. So we've missed those guys last year, and I personally can't wait to get them back.
And we'll close out Scott's session today with a question from Daniel Kramer.
Hey, Scott, we talked to Justice earlier this morning, and just what's it been like for you to see the maturation process, the pitch efficiency, the development of the two-seamer, and just how far he came in 2020, even in an abbreviated season?
I think, you know, Chef's season obviously got overlooked a little bit with what Kyle Lewis did, but couldn't be any more excited about the direction he's headed and the steps that he has made. And, you know, I think I heard one of the questions was asked, you know, was there a light bulb moment? Or this light came on, and when did you decide this needed to happen? And I don't know if there was exactly that. Sometimes it does happen that way for players, but with Chef, I think it's just, you know, his confidence grew, and he realized if I can just get it over the plate and stay ahead in the count, this is what happens. And he started doing it. He bought in. Credit to our pitching coaches. I thought Woody did a great job with him last year of keeping it simple, understanding that you just need to trust your stuff because we got really good defensive players behind you. Certainly the guys on the left side of the infield. Hit it on the ground. They'll be out. But when the confidence grew, then you started to see now he's throwing a few more changeups. He's not just solely relying on the slider to put people away and allowing him ultimately to get deeper in ball games. So I think one of the better stories of our season last year was certainly it's hard to top what Kyle Lewis did, but Chef stepping up and doing what he did. And you can dream on that one a little bit, hoping and understanding this guy's athletic, he's smart, he continues to learn, he's a very good worker. Why can't he get better? Certainly should. As the command and the experience grows, he's a guy that, when I put him out there on a particular day, you feel really good. I mean, we're going to get 6 innings and we're going to go to the pen. Hopefully it's 7 if he's got pitches to work with before we have to go to the pen. So need more of those guys. And we've got more of them coming. That's the most exciting thing here. The group of pitching that we have coming through our minor league system is as good as any group I've ever been around. And I know it takes a lot. And people say, they're just prospects. These guys are very talented, and they're getting pushed. Our minor league people are doing a great job of challenging our young players and trying to get them better as quick as we can so they can be big contributors here in Seattle.
Thank you very much, Scott. And thank you, everyone, for being with us today. A reminder that the Bash rolls on until the end of the week, including today's virtual event schedule. 1 o'clock, there's a Twitter takeover with Ty France. At 2 o'clock, there's a virtual clubhouse chat with Kendall Graveman, the Take It to the Grave. 4 o'clock, a TikTok takeover with Justin Dunn. 7 o'clock tonight, we've got the Hot Stove Report on 710 ESPN Seattle. And as always, you can visit mariners.com/baseballbash for the full schedule. The upcoming media schedule includes tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll have Andy McKay, Logan Gilbert, Emerson Hancock, and Jared Kelnick. And again, mariners.com/baseballbash for details on all the events. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for attending this morning's media session. Be sure to visit mariners.com/baseballbash for more fun.